Hey guys, today I'll be reacting to 5 Norwegian home habits that make no sense to Americans. Let's get into this.
When you first move to Norway, the differences feel extremely cinematic. The grand nature and the fact that
That's
everyone looks like they
beautiful.
were carved from the fjord's rocks themselves. But after a while, these big dramatic differences start to fade into the background, and what starts to stand out are the more domestic ones. And I swear, if you want to understand a country, do not look at its tourist attractions, look at its entryways and look in the kitchen drawers. Because
Interesting.
Norwegian households are built on a completely different set of assumptions than American ones. So today we're talking about the 5 things that you would find in every Norwegian household that an American simply would not understand. And more importantly, what I think those things reveal about Norwegian culture. Let's start at the door. And I'm not talking about the
They take their shoes off before they come in the house.
because yes, they do, but that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that I think the entire house is basically designed around that one fact alone. Depending on who you are, in America, entryways are often very decorative. A cute
Yeah.
console table, maybe a mirror. In Norway, the average Norwegian household's entryway is a functional transition
Really?
chamber. It's built for
Why?
survival. There are hooks everywhere, reflective vests for kids, wool layers, rain boots, boots for snow, boots for mud, boots for hiking,
That's
boots
a lot
for
of
these are
boots.
cute, but they're actually waterproof. The floor is usually tile, and it can handle chaos because it expects chaos. And almost always, there's this little detail that most Americans miss out on, the shoe horn. Not one of those
Oh, I
tiny
love
plastic ones you
those.
get free at the state fair sometimes. A long, often metal or wooden shoe horn, sometimes nearly 2 feet long and
Wait, those could also be 2 feet long? Oh my gosh. I love those things. Like, I reacted to this girl recently, and I've just seen the shoehorn for the first time, and it amazed me. Like, I want one of those, and people are saying to find them in IKEA, and maybe I should. Those are like lifesaver, because I always have a hard time putting on my shoes, so those will definitely help me. I don't have to struggle putting it on it, but I didn't imagine it to be that long. Oh my gosh.
hanging by the door like it's the most important tool in the household because honestly, it kinda is. In the US, shoehorns feel antique, something your grandfather might own, right? In Norway, they're standard equipment. And I think why is because Norwegians wear very structured footwear. And not
Oh,
only very
really?
structured, but very practical. Practical shoes that are built to last. And the point of the shoehorn is
Nice.
to preserve the heel of the shoe, therefore extending the life of the shoe. And for people who invest heavily in proper footwear, they care about that longevity. And back to the shoe rule itself, it isn't just about cleanliness here. I think it also has to do with boundaries. I think you can almost relate it back to Norway's strong distinction between public and private life. And taking off your shoes when you
Yeah.
enter the home is sort of symbolic of that. You leave the
Mm-hmm.
outside world at the door, literally and physically. In America, I think the boundary between public and private life is blurrier. The big idea is that we host, we entertain, and our homes become
Yeah.
a sort of extension of our social lives. And that's a difference that shows up immediately at the shoehorn. Now on to number 2, the drying rack.
Interesting.
Americans love their
Ah.
drying machines. We throw everything in.
Yes.
Towels,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes jeans, emotional baggage, go ahead and throw that in there too. But in Norway, almost every household has a foldable drying rack, one of these. And it's
Ah.
usually in the living room, and it's usually permanently
Really?
stationed like a piece of furniture that everyone has sort of collectively agreed to ignore. And here's the
Did she just mention that Norwegian put it in their living room? Won't it be messy? Like, why don't they put it in the laundry area though? It's interesting.
thing. Norway absolutely has dryers. We have one ourselves. So it's not because
Okay.
the technology has not arrived. I think it's because of one reason specifically: wool. Norwegians own a lot of
Oh,
wool. Wool socks, wool
yeah,
underwear,
those
wool
shrink.
sweaters, and wool cannot be aggressively tumble dried. So because of this,
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a habit to just hang everything else up also. And you can even make it come
Ah.
back to that Norwegians will buy something of quality and they don't want it to be ruined. They preserve the longevity of their items. Or I even thought about
That's
the
nice.
sustainability aspect of it. Norwegians love their sustainability and being sustainable. So if anything can use less water, I think a good chunk of Norwegians would jump on that opportunity. There's also something very honest about it. You go to someone's house, and yes, there might be socks hanging up in the corner, but that's because
Really?
life is happening. It's not hidden away in a laundry room the size of a small
Ah,
apartment. However,
okay.
I do miss being able to wash and dry my clothes in under an hour. That is something that I took for granted. Number
Yeah.
3, 2 people.
So yeah, I love dryers, but I hate when it shrink my clothes. And my clothes aren't that nice as it used to be. Like when you first buy it, like it's not as colorful. Like the heat makes my clothes faded. I hate it. I think I'm just gonna get those hanging thing that was shown in this video and hide it somewhere, I guess. But yeah, those are really, really practical and definitely would make your clothes last longer.
2 blankets. In America, 1 bed, 1 blanket. Perhaps you fight over it during the night. Maybe someone steals it every night. However, in Norway, 1 bed, yes, but 2 blankets. We
Oh
do not share
yeah.
duvets here. So you quite literally cannot steal it because it is not yours to steal. When I first saw this, I did actually kind of think mildly alarming, I guess. Like, are we okay? Is this a cultural indication of something here? But it turns out
Yeah.
it's practical. It prevents arguments. It
Yeah.
helps with sleep. And
Makes
it
sense.
allows temperature control. My favorite part about it. One person can have a thick winter duvet. The other can choose a lighter duvet. And there's actually research
True,
supporting the
yeah.
idea that separate duvets reduce nighttime disturbances between partners. And it works. I no longer wake up sweating in a tug of war competition with my husband at 3 a.m. I sort of relate this back to, I don't know, maybe Norwegians care about sleep more than like an aesthetically pretty looking bed. Or, I don't know. You tell me in the comments what you think this means. Okay, number 4.
Yeah, those are really interesting and shocking to me when I first heard it for the first time when I reacted to a video and this is one of the topic. And I was like, why? Why would they do it? But yeah, I guess it's practical. And it's always annoying when other person hugging all the blankets. But yeah, and that's me. I hug all the blanket. But yeah.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about food and utensils. And I'm going deeper than
Brown cheese.
yes, brown cheese exists, and yes, Americans are
Brown
confused by it.
cheese?
But what's more interesting is
Never heard of
the
those.
bread culture surrounding it. Most Norwegian kitchens will have very dedicated bread spaces, a bread drawer, a bread box, a bread basket. Bread is not an afterthought here. It's central to the Norwegian food experience. Open-faced sandwiches are the national breakfast
those look
time
good.
and lunchtime food in the Scandinavian countries.
Healthy.
And the cheese slicer, invented in Norway, by the way, in 1952 by Thor.
That's a long time.
By Thor Bjørklund. It's also everywhere. It's not optional. It's a Norwegian kitchen essential. And the slicer itself, I think, is revealing of Norwegian and Scandinavian culture. It
Yeah, those
creates
are nice.
even slices, no excess. Because Norwegian food culture historically developed around scarcity. One, Norway wasn't always a rich country. They were very poor. And long winters required foods that lasted. Cured meats, cheeses, dense breads. Even today, the national dietary guidelines emphasize whole grains, fish, dairy, and moderation. And Norway has also implemented policies like the sugar tax. And you compare that to the American food abundance culture, where you have oversized portions, hidden ingredients, and hyper-processed convenience.
Yeah.
The entire Norwegian food system is relatively transparent, even down to the brødskive. You see the bread, you see the toppings, Nothing's buried. And last but not least, number 5, sheepskin. There is a moment when you've lived in Norway long enough that you stop noticing the sheepskins. They're on dining chairs, they're on benches, they're draped
Really?
over sleds, they're on the floor at the cabin, and sometimes they're just casually thrown over what appears to be a completely normal modern IKEA chair.
For real?
If you walk into a Norwegian
Wow.
home and there isn't at least one sheepskin pelt somewhere, I would be shocked. To an American, I think
Yes.
sheepskin could feel decorative. It's rustic chic, right? It's Pinterest
Yeah.
cabin core. But in Norway, it's practical and it's historical. Real sheepskin is incredibly insulating. It traps heat while remaining breathable. And when you live in a country where large parts of the year are cold,
Beautiful.
soft insulation layers matter everywhere. Not only do Norwegians use sheepskin inside, they use sheepskin outside. You'll go to a cafe in October and it's 7 degrees outside, and on every chair, under every person, a sheepskin. And there's also that historical context that I mentioned earlier. Norway's rural and coastal communities relied heavily on sheep farming for centuries. Wool and hides
Didn't
were,
know
of
that.
course, survival materials. And modern Norway is wealthy. It's urban, it's design forward, Scandi style, am I right? But these sheepskins remain embedded in domestic life. They're there because they're so normal. Because of course you would have a sheepskin. And there's also kind of a deeper layer. Norwegians generally have a different relationship with animal products than many Americans might assume. Hunting is common, rural traditions are respected. If an animal is raised or hunted, as much of it as possible should be used. It reflects a historical relationship with land and livestock.
Yep.
And once you sit on a wooden chair with a real sheepskin in winter, you'll understand immediately why it's still so widely used today. So, when you look at these things individually, they don't seem like much. None of them are revolutionary per se. But I love making these videos because together they tell you something about how a country thinks. And I love analyzing those things. And what's interesting to me isn't that these things are different from America. It's that they help reveal what a culture prioritizes without ever saying it out loud. I think that surprised me. When I started looking into Norwegian culture, I didn't expect to learn so much from a hallway alone. But of course, that's where actual culture lives. In the ordinary spaces, the spaces that are used every single day. And once you start paying attention to that, you realize you can understand a place not just by what it celebrates publicly, but how it sets up a chair. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down.
That was a really good video, and I really enjoyed and love reacting to this kind of video because it just showed me how different the culture in each country is just so different. Like, it just opens my mind more that there's more like I don't know. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.